sound high. Welcome to Tomorrow Today, The Future is Speaking, a space for young people in Botswana, thinkers, dreamers, and most definitely disruptors. My name is Bridget Ciele, and I am so excited to be your host. But I can't do it alone. I will be having a handsome gentleman by my side.
Hello, my name is Tlhabiwe Abram, and I am going to be the co-host of this program.
Like I said, this isn't just your podcast. It is a space for honest, real conversations about issues that affect us, rele banana mo Botswana. And speaking about such issues, today we decided let us bring someone who understands, who is living the realities. I mean, his name is Gakeesi Tlhabiwe. If you don't know him, you are going to know him today.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having me here. It's an honor. I mean, it's very few times that you're invited for episode 1.
Yes, and you deserve to be here today.
Yes, indeed. We are having this conversation today.
Yes.
And as she stated in the preamble, that we are having honest conversations about issues that affect the youth. And I think it's important for me to state, since this is the first episode, that we are dealing with issues that affect the youth because we are realizing the youth are no longer interested.
Yes.
The youth are not informed.
Yes.
And in the little that is having conversations about these issues, there's a bit of inaccuracy in it. And so we are speaking about these things to try and create that information dissemination to the youth and make sure that we get to develop interest in national issues as youth.
Yeah.
I think it takes a whole lot because one thing that I have realized or I've seen that is happening, we have youth who are interested in knowing about what's happening.
Yes.
But who are they going to? Where do they get information that is broken down in the language that they're going to understand?
Yes, of
because
course.
it is one thing to hear about what is happening, but it is another thing to understand. This is why we are here. We are stepping in the gap to fill in that void in a way that Luena as youth, you understand. But okay, no, if Bridget can understand, if Bridget and Tlhabiwe can break it down, then definitely this is something I can listen to, right?
Exactly. And so this is why today I want us to indeed have an honest conversation. Our youth are in difficulties. What the youth are going through is very turbulent. And all these things are emanating from the one big problem, the problem of unemployment. And this is a problem that even the World Bank has admitted to.
Yes.
I mean, unemployment is not just a problem in Botswana. It's a tragedy in Southern Africa. It's a tragedy in the continent of Africa. It's a tragedy in the global economy.
Of course.
And so I want us to engage on this issue today of unemployment and basically what it actually results in as a turbulence to the youth that we're dealing with today.
There's some meme, I think I'll call it a meme, where I read and it was like, it sucks that I get to be an adult in such an economy.
Yeah, no, this is the worst.
Right?
This is the worst time to be an adult.
I can imagine our dreams being buried because of unemployment. Because imagine you're finishing school, employable as you are, but where are you going to go? You know, what are you going to do when you go home?
I think there's you talk about employability.
Yeah.
I think if you look at some statistics, I think it was the indebtedness survey in Botswana, house indebtedness survey. Yes, it showed that younger people are much less employable. You know. So when you talk about unemployment, you're not just talking about lack of jobs.
True.
You're talking about an unproductive economy. You're talking about an inability to harness the human capital in the country, especially one that you have invested in through education. You know, I mean, even the Minister of Finance in his budget speech noted that about 7%, if I'm not wrong, of the entire GDP was invested in education. You know? So with such an investment, and then you have people coming out of it, but there's an efficiency gap. Yeah. So you invest, but the return on investment is not as it should be, you know. So in that space, then we realize that the economy is unproductive, the labor is unproductive, and I'm not talking about just the working people, including the people who could be working, you know. So within that space, unemployment is not just it's a very serious social economic issue. Yeah.
I love the fact that you're talking about it as a social economic issue.
Yes.
You know, I've read a bit of reports. I've read a report from World Health Organization.
Yes.
They made a projection that by 2030, Botswana is, mental health is going to be a world pandemic.
No, of course.
And then for Botswana,
I think we are going there.
We are going there. And then when they decentralized that report, they say in 2030, Botswana is going to be a depressed nation.
Yes.
Mind you, the World Happiness Index also is saying that Botswana is so unhappy that even countries in Africa where there are war zones are much more happier than us.
Botswana is a very complex case study. Look, other African states, you can very quickly say it's a war zone, there's famine, you know, like they're direct influences that you can point to. Now, Botswana sort of feels like a confluence of issues that you can't really point to, you know.
There's so much that's going on.
There's so much that's going on.
A stamp.
Yeah, like you know when you are stressed and someone asks you why are you stressed, like, I don't know. You know, not that you don't know, but you can't point to the issue. So if you look at Botswana's setup, right? I don't want to go too much into in the history, but education isn't doing what it should, right? The health sector isn't where it should be, right? So imagine you are a high school student or a junior secondary school student who is unwell, you know. Just those two factors. There's very high multi-dimensional poverty in the country. I think over 40% of children in Botswana are multi-dimensionally poor. And when we talk about multi-dimensional, you are, You are vulnerable to different aspects of poverty, you know. There are 14% under the poverty line, which means that we're a country that isn't very happy, you know, in terms of living experience or lived experience. Cost of living is very high. On a very basic level, things are tough, you know. And so it wouldn't be a shock to hear such statistics or such projections.
But then inform me here.
Yes.
I mean, look at the population of Botswana.
Yes.
You find that around 60 to 70% of it is youth.
Yes.
So what is the implication of that in a circumstance where majority of the population is youth, but it has an economic system that is failing to absorb those youth inside of it?
Now, first of all, if you have a system that's failing to absorb young people, and we're not just talking public service, in the entire economy. If the system is not absorbing young people, by the time the people who are in the system become economically unviable, not viable, but they cease to be economically viable. The young people who are supposed to be at the helm of economic development are not, you know. So you've locked out your future. You've locked out your potential. So therefore, the economy itself, to survive, must be able to invest. I mean, there are countries, I think, like Japan, China, who controlled birth rates. A lot of them are realizing that a control in birth rates caused them to be an aging state, which means that there are less young people, which means that the future is less secure, you know. So on a very basic level, securing your young people is an investment. And we're not saying that just because treat your young people right, but it's an actual investment. For the country to survive, it needs its young people to be strategically placed in the economy and in society to be able not only to take over, but to take it to the next level.
All right, there's the concept of sustainability.
Yes.
Is it compromised in our case then? I mean, it would, in the light of what you're talking about, China and them realizing they're an aging country and all that, and how we are not, taking care of our youth.
Yes.
I mean, there's a saying that says we have not just inherited this land from our parents, we've borrowed it from our future.
Yes.
In the light of that, is sustainability there compromised?
It is on different levels. Number one, In terms of borrowing it from the future, then we become very bad stewards of it. But also, we must think of sustainability within the sense of heritage. So, the question of as Botswana, or the clause in the question as Botswana, is our system sustainable, is very critical. In that,
Do you think it is sustainable?
now, to answer your question, let me do this. I want to ask you a question, maybe. When you think about Botswana, what do you think of? Okay, maybe before that, let me ask you.
That's a very tough question to ask.
When a person in maybe the US or the UK thinks about Botswana, what do you think they think of?
They know it is just a developing country there.
They probably don't
Poor
know.
country and all
They
that.
don't know. They might even not know what Botswana is. If they do, on a good day, they know about diamonds, lions, and
Okavango.
and
Those are the most
Okavang
famous
and
subjects
Litsile,
out there.
right?
And Litsile,
You know, it's isolated things. I mean, so we already don't have a comprehensive identity, right? To say this is who we are as Botswana on a corporate level, right? We have forgone the opportunities to convene as a people, to have some sort of central ideology, to say this is who we are, this is who we have been, this is who we are going to be. You know, so that's one aspect. The other aspect is from that you then have a premise to say, okay, when we think of Botswana in the next 50, 100 years, what do we think of? I'm not talking smart cities and big buildings and an idea that speaks to not only who we are, but who we want our children and their children and their children and their children to be, you know, securing their future. You know, countries in the Middle East like the UAE were built on the premise of building for the future, you know, such that in many ways there are cities that are being built for 20, 30, 50 years ahead, you know. So Botswana as an African state must be number one part of a movement that says, as Africans, we must take the narrative and go forward, but also must say that let's bring the young people. This thing of let's bring young people to the table, I'm not sure if I believe in it. I believe let's put away these tables and build tables with young people there.
Yeah, I was about to say that, you know, this whole thing of saying, let's bring young people to the table.
Yes.
Most times they aren't brought to the table.
Yes.
You find them being brought at the end
Yes,
of the discussion,
yes,
but
yes.
not at the table.
Yes.
You find a young person being brought when the decision has been made. We are just involving you so that you know that this is what's happening.
Yes.
But if you remove the table and then they are there, fully present from the beginning to the end, I think that's when it will make so much more sense, and it will give the young people placement in what has to be their future.
What you are saying,
very right.
what you are saying is actually bringing now another issue here of opportunity.
Yes.
You spoke about the issue of the economy, not just youth being failed in terms of being absorbed into the public savings, but also the private sector.
Yes, of course.
And the issue of the private sector then brings about the issue of entrepreneurship. So, and I want us to talk about the issue of opportunity and economic participation of the youth in that regard. Do we think we are doing enough as a country in terms of, you know, creating a benign environment for youth to actually indeed participate in the economy through, you know, opportunities that come from entrepreneurship and all that?
Of course. Look, there are 4 means of production, if I remember them right. Subject their business. Literature, history. So there's land, I get, which is another whole issue. There's labor. There's capital, right, which is also another issue.
Big
And then there's enterprise or entrepreneurship. So within that frame of thinking, entrepreneurship cannot just be born. Hona le tendera ko Ministry of Health, khatere supply di pampir, are go bula company, right? That cannot be entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship must first, you must have a problem, right? You must be able to solve the problem. You must be able to sell the product. You must be able to scale, right? Let's just simplify it to that level. When you create an unproductive group of young people. What you are then creating is, and maybe let me explain, our education system does not empower young people to innovate, to be part of the economy.
I think that's where the problem starts.
That's where the problem starts.
That's where the real problem is.
And we're not saying Tsenya subject the A, Kananta subject the A. It's a root thing. It's a grassroots thing.
Yeah.
So how you teach your children also matters. So even if you look at the development of the education system, it trained young people to be. Firstly, it trained them to be prepared for the public service. Then it trained them to be employees in whatever space, right? Such that when other subjects come in, it doesn't solve the issue, the core issue.
Yeah.
So from education into the greater economy, you leave school and then you find a job entry level, 5 years experience, 5 years experience.
Imagine. So I think that's another thing that we also probably
so
didn't mention.
You then force young people into entrepreneurship, right? But entrepreneurship is, this is personal, and please, this is not, I'm not saying this is the truth, it's just my belief.
Honestly, your opinion.
It's my opinion. There's a gentleman called Lee Kuan Yew. He said, in as much as leaders are born, entrepreneurs are born. So there are not many people who can look at a problem, find a business solution for it, and sell it. So we need to empower such people to find the problems in the system, right, and then solve the issues. So in answering your question on entrepreneurship, we must fundamentally change how we think about not only entrepreneurship, but the productivity of our young people, such that they are viable to answer the questions that the nation demands. So if we look at programs like BTEP, even if you read the budget speech, for me, so the budget speech reads like a government policy document. So it feels like he's talking to government and says, look, this is what we're doing, and we need you to act. Right? It's your turn. Right? So what government then needs to do in response to the budget speech and the reality on the ground is to say, okay, what do we have? Right? Maybe review human capital, right? Whatever we need. And then ask, okay, if we have many social scientists or if we have whatever, how do we answer local issues? But then again, we're like 2.4 million. How do we answer global issues? So we need to drive our young people and our system to pushing our young people to being productive on a national scale, but also on an export scale. When you look at a mango, don't think, how can I sell this mango, right, for 5 pula? Think, how can I take this mango and make chilies and make juice and make acha and make this and make 100 pula from that, So extending that 5 pula, extending that product, value addition, economics.
That's what we say. Let's talk about the issue of the education. You spoke about the issue of the education. So we're saying that the problem then is the education system. And I think as an economist myself, if you ask me, and I think that's one of the issues that a lot of economists do usually speak on, I believe one of the indicators that really is important, that accounts for how a country is performing, is the issue of the education system. Because one, it accounts for the innovation levels, it accounts for the quality of the labor force of that country, it accounts for the ability of adaptability of the labor force of that country.
Of course.
So basically it is a depiction of a country's intended economic trajectory. Come here now with me. Are you saying that where we are right now is exactly what the education system has produced?
I will ask you this question.
I'm always afraid of the questions that you're going to ask.
But I'm a nice guy.
I'm always afraid of the questions
that you're going to ask. Guy. Let me ask you this question. What do you expect when we are opening for more failure? Right? Where we are saying, there was a time the cutoff point was C's. Then we said, let's put it down to D.
To D's.
Now, just a little E inside, And this is not to, yes, young people, children in growing up can have challenges, sometimes can be challenges, but that's a story for another day. The system itself has not been able to respond to real issues. I'll give you an example. there's a school. There are schools where children do not have desks, where children do not have chairs, where children do not have classrooms, where teachers are functioning in a very difficult environment, So before we get to the curriculum, when you compromise or when you don't balance the welfare of your teachers, when you don't balance the welfare of your students, when you don't balance with facilities, right, and means of learning, where children need to print notes, where there are no textbooks, where you know the reality, the basic proceedings that are needed for learning, especially in a country where many people cannot afford, So what do you then expect? Number one. Number two, when our education system has not developed much since before 1966, I want to give you homework from kana monao kana ngwana kana. Go check their textbooks and go to the section where it talks about planets and check how many planets that textbook says are in the solar system. After you check that, come back to me and tell me, because it has not developed. If we use that as a case study, then it means that we haven't trained our young people to respond to global and local economic issues. We have not.
That goes. I remember this one time, like during my internship, I think there was a study going about how what we are taught at universities isn't what's happening in the corporate space. You leave your university with whatever it is that you're being taught. Then when you get to the corporate space, you have to learn once again. So that talks about how we are being failed from primary down, right down to university. And then when you get to corporate again, they're expecting something from you that you weren't taught.
You weren't given.
How we are just going.
It feels like, man, we're doing things just because we're expected to. I mean,
ticking the goals of the government.
We're ticking the boxes. I mean, a lot of us growing up, and this is mostly those who are older, we're told it's either you're a doctor or a nurse, or this or this or that, right? And then, of course, it expanded as time went on. But my challenge is that in such a case, you need to then look forward as an institution in government and say, what will the country need in 15 years, right? Okay, the country will need more data analysts. The country will need more people in STEM. The country will need this. Okay, we are broadening the scholarship base in these industries, right? We're calling in young people. We're headhunting young people, right, to get into these spaces. Why? Because we need to train people who will lead us in those industries in the next 5, 10, 15 years, So if we haven't done that, number one. Number two, if we haven't reviewed the current state to say, how do we adopt what we are learning? Because research is progressive, right? University needs to expose you to research, right? To finding out what is going on and how to respond to it. And that's where the question of entrepreneurship comes back in. To say, even if you study marketing, you can't go into the classroom. I'm not saying this is what's happening. I'm using it as a case study. Just an example. You can't go into the classroom and then learn billboards. You come out, you realize nobody's looking at billboards anymore. Right? Everybody's looking at their phone, So you need to then move from the billboard onto the cell phone. But you can't communicate on the phone as you did on the billboard. So we need to be able, a country needs to do to invest in research, for the simple reason that things are changing and dynamics are changing. So you need to adapt to them. That research must then inform in the Ministry of Mining and Engineering, of Mining and Energy, to say within the next 5-10 years, diamonds will nobody will want a diamond anymore, right? Of course that's extreme for effect. But the diamond market will go down. Okay, if we are projecting that the diamond market will go down, what then do we need to do? Okay, what does the country have? We have uranium, we have natural gas, we have gold, we have can we co-invest in oil with Angola? Can we go into silicon chip development? Can we what? And then develop those industries in the next 5-10 years so that by the time the diamond market goes down, we can quickly respond. So diversification comes also right down to education. So youth becomes central to, and maybe let me just jump in to say, a lot of times we talk about national issues, right? And then say, oh yeah, what about the youth? And then you go there, okay, let's find a way
by
to...
the way,
No. By the time we are discussing national issues, the youth must be there, right?
Exactly.
And be part, not only part, but must lead the conversation. Because unfortunately, it's the truth. In 20, 30 years, right, you will be there. You will be in somewhere, right? Those who are in leadership now will not.
They won't be
right?
there.
They will not. And that's a truth you must accept. Therefore, those in leadership must sit with you, not wait, sit alone and then talk to you. Sit with you and say, how do we build this project that we both co-own, that is Botswana, to develop it for the next 20, 30 years, that you will lead.
And I don't think the current system has been built in a way that does engage youth. It hasn't. And that's why you have so many youth activists, so many youth leaders with brilliant ideas that can help the youth, but then at the same time, those ideas just rot in the shelves. They just rot. More the seminar rooms where they call other young people. And now, here we have youth participating, showing interest in a whole lot of things. I think you can attest to that when you get into a room, when you host a seminar today, you come up with any title, you're going to find hungry youth going there, wanting solutions.
Literally hungry, by the way.
Oh wow. But the main question is, wena as Gakeesi, can you actually fill in the gap, or we need the leaders to be the ones who are stepping in and calling the youth to be like, here I am as your leader. How best can we address the problem that you've seen? But now, one thing that I can promise you is, I am proud of the current youth, the current crop of youth in Botswana.
Definitely.
Bolo Nayan, just to teach you
your
little horns. Okay. No, obviously I'm proud of myself. I mean,
Good.
But we have people with brilliant ideas.
Of course.
But there's a need for leaders to step in. Not hore. There's one time I was engaging with leaders, just asking them like few questions, and what you get is knock at our doors. How many youth knock at our doors but they don't get answers?
But you think they care?
Yes.
Do they care?
For them to care, I mean, they show us they care.
I think,
and to know if someone cares, it's something that I can't answer to.
I think caring is a very difficult question.
It's a very difficult question.
It's a very difficult question, also because of the dynamics of... Look, democracy must work a certain way, and we must demand it to work a certain way. Any nation state is a nation state because of its constituents, not because of the power. No. Power depends on its constituents. I mean, even if you want to be a dictator, if there's no one to dictate to, you are not a dictator. You're just a peasant, you know. So the constituents must realize that they hold the power of democracy, firstly. Secondly, how it should work. No, the leaders should not call us. No, we must call the leaders. We must. So firstly, the young people need to have firstly, 1.1. let me also acknowledge many young people who are doing very great work.
Yeah.
The fact that
That one needs an applause.
no, it really does. It really does. To
Well done,
build
guys.
to build initiatives in such an environment is applaudable. What you are like here.
Yeah.
And must be and must be acknowledged. You know. So to all the young people, we see you. We notice what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing. But also, it needs to be jointed. There needs to be a youth voice, right? And maybe that's why I'm very passionate about the youth parliament, right? Not just for people to talk there. No. For a central place for young people to convene and express a youth interest.
Yeah.
Right. Number 2. Number 3, young people need to be able to call their leaders, and the leaders must respond, right? To say, look, these are our interests, and we have sent you there to to represent these interests, right? You know, and that's what my sentiment is. In a democratic dispensation, no young people must feel like they must wait for leaders to give them the opportunity.
Yeah.
It is the young people who must drive the initiative. Look at the Arab Springs. Look at the fight, the anti-apartheid fight in South Africa. Look at the fight against the civil rights movement in the US.
So are you, in a way, saying that the call-out just end more social media? Because the call-outs, like calling out the leaders, like, it ends hella more social media, more Facebook, more your TikTok comments, because I can testify, they do call them out. But do they respond?
Who respond? The leaders?
The leaders. Or there's a better way to approach if you want
This one is not effective.
Look, we need to. Here's the thing: the goal is nation building, right? It's not for you to hear me. Right? So, I'll give you an example. In Kenya, when they were doing the constitutional review, what, the government did their thing, and then the people are like, no, we're not going to be part of this, and they did their own. You know, so the moment young people sample what their ideal economy should be, right? The moment young people sit down and say, okay, maybe what education is now is not what we want it to be. Let's not just create tuition centers. Let's create a movement. This is a
call to action.
Movements like the Hank Green and John Green, they on YouTube, man. Crash Course. I don't know if you know that. No. So there are YouTube channels like Crash Course and others who sit down and explain things. So you can just check Crash Course. You'll find lessons on biology, history, English, maths, everything. If we can find young people who can drive such initiatives, we can then show government that you're not doing enough.
But let's look at it from here.
Yes.
I mean, majority of our youth are losing interest in politics.
Of course.
Yeah, they're losing interest in politics because politics doesn't serve them.
Yes.
Politics serves those who are being elected to occupy those positions.
Yes.
And in the process of that, youth feel like, we're just participating in an electoral process.
Yes.
But this thing is really not working for us.
Yes.
I was about to say, they are not losing interest in politics. They're losing interest in the electoral process. Because you can't tell.
In systems.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because when it comes to politics is not just electing a new leader.
Yeah, it's not true.
So the youth, the people, we are led by emotions. And if you don't satisfy what we have agreed on, then I don't think there's a need. At home, I won't think there's a need to continue.
Yeah, no, of course. And that's where depression sets in.
So if you promise me, like, let's say we're in a relationship, right? And then you come and tell me, but babe, this is what I'll do by the end.
Sorry.
Hey, you guys, you need the hand of God. But let's say, why did I say babe?
I can't worry. Promise me relationship.
In this economy.
Fiscal imprudence. Sorry.
So you tell me that by the end of the month I would do this, right?
Yes.
Or just say, like when you are approaching me as a guy, and they're like, okay, fine, this is what you're doing. You're texting me daily. On texter daily. Hanse, we are going, you now tell me you are busy. I'm definitely going to lose interest.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm definitely going to lose interest and leave you. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, can't leave you.
Yeah, I tell them, mate.
Okay.
Now, if we keep on losing, youth by the little things, not satisfying their needs, their wants, and not fulfilling the promises that we've made, we're going to lose them, and at the end, they're going to lay back, and we won't have people who are going to run.
Yeah.
Of course. There are two dynamics to your question. Firstly, young people have. I'll say this, and some may disagree, and
It's okay to disagree.
Apologize for not apologizing, but
No, don't apologize. Don't apologize.
but many people say that people voted out the previous administration because they had lost faith in the administration. No, they had lost faith in government and systems, right, of government. And unfortunately for them, they were the custodians of those systems. And that to prove that, it didn't take 6 months for people to quickly respond to the current government to say Kantili Rahing. It wasn't a call to the administration, and that's what people are missing.
Yeah.
It was a call to the systems, So a lot of critiques that people have towards politics and politicians and the administration is actually a frustration with the system.
Yeah.
It's a call on them to respond to what's happening in the system, right? And we must admit that the systems are not working.
That's true.
That's why.
No matter how many people, the different people you're going to put in power,
Yes.
it won't change if the system remains.
If the
the same.
system it remains the
Yes.
same. It's like calling in a new driver of a car without an engine. So you need to deal with the engine issue. Now, the second dynamic is what do the youth then do? Because the youth are going to be despondent, they're going to be apathetic, they're going to be frustrated, depressed, and God forbid we're going to have a youth that takes their own lives. Right? How then do we mitigate that as young people? Right? I get it. The leaders will have to figure out a way. But as young people, what do we do? One of the most radical and revolutionary things that one can do is hope.
Yeah.
And hope, it basically says this is the reality. But even though this is the reality, this is what could be.
Yeah.
And that hope is what drives us to action. You don't just sit and say, I hope things will be fine. But a hope that drives us to action, such that even when things and people tell us that things are not going to work, right? Even when data tells us that the growth in the world economy, the SADC and SACU economies developing and emerging markets, the growth is going down, the growth is descending. The growth is descending. We must then say, against this reality, what is our hope? And for me, that is my call to action for young people, to say hope is the centrality, because hope will then inform our action. Yes.
Barack Obama calls it the audacity of hope.
The audacity of hope.
Yeah. You're talking about...
Yes.
Barack Obama there's a projection on issues of emerging markets. I hear you talking about emerging markets. And in this projection, it is said that there's 1.2 billion youth that are expected to be absorbed by this emerging market. But those emerging markets are only going to produce 400 million jobs.
Yes.
Tell me about the 800 million that is on the side. I'm talking about the global economy.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then also, having said that, let's come back to decentralize it to Botswana.
Yes.
And most of the time, these emerging markets, most of them are going to benefit developed countries.
Yes.
Because we are not in a good space as developing countries.
Yes.
I want you to talk about this issue of emerging markets on the context of us as a developing country in Botswana. And then after that, I would need you to then go to the issue of systems, right? Because you're talking about systems. We are in the era of politics where this is neo-colonialism what we're dealing with, the last stage of imperialism.
Yeah.
That's what Kwame Nkrumah talks about.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
sir.
important
Yes,
for
sir.
me to talk about this
Of
thing
course,
because
of
they
course.
give context to
definitely.
the political economy of Africa.
Definitely.
So we can't discuss issues of this continent
Without acknowledging the
devoid
reality.
of that conversation.
Yes.
So do you think in the youth, whatever it is that we're doing, whether we are participating or whatever, or on the sidelines and all that, do you think we have the rightful ideology as to...
Do we have an ideology?
Yeah, I want us to get there.
Okay.
Do you think we have an ideology that speaks to our art of politics?
Okay, let me answer that one and then the developing
Yeah,
markets
yeah.
issue.
Developing markets.
There's research, I think some research has shown, I just don't remember who wrote it, that Botswana actually does not have an ideology.
The president also stated when he
the-
came
the-
into government. He says he's not going
Yes,
to...
he doesn't conform,
He doesn't
to,
conform to
any
ideologies,
ideology.
yeah.
And I'm not saying as Botswana you must say we are communists or capitalists or this or that.
Yeah.
But look, I because I spent quite some time in South Africa, a lot of my examples come from there. There were conventions in which the people of South Africa came together and said, who are we and what do we believe, particularly in the context of the movement against apartheid, you know. And from there we have what we call the Freedom Charter, from which then informs the ideology of land, an idea of whatever. Right now, how do we akala re bua ka gore ke nna kae akere ya gore ha ke apply la lahatse nna e le monana mongwe le mongwe hela wa akanya gore ke a go nna kae akere gongwe akere le gore ke a go ba dikgomo tsa metse 5 kae, you know. It's not a use of land as a productive asset, you know. So we haven't had that convention to say what is our idea. There are philosophies and ideas coming around, you know, and in that economy, that's where you have gore kamoso khona go ira party bo ibitsa tomorrow today party sa go ile gore rona re dumela gore
There's someone who
That's a good name.
tomorrow today party TTP.
Come on, Nari, we should start a party. Is it
Hasan na watankolela mais
Youth Parliament.
nakare parliament hakare party
Oh,
utule phahela bore but
ke a le bolella guys ona le idea ya teng.
the views expressed do not but it's very easy to then rise up and say ga ke rate ka ha ra aparang ka teng na ke dumela gore ra apare di safari suit, you know, even a party di safari suit. I'm not saying that's how parties in Botswana were born, but if we're not careful of our political environment, that's what we're brewing. So the issue of ideology, we need to convene, and it comes back to issue earlier heritage to say who are we, what do we believe in, where are we going, such that in that case, how do I melody when or you want to be the president of the republic when a Bridget, the first female president. You don't we don't ask you what are you going to do for us. We tell you this is what we want you to do for us, and you tell us what you can manage, such that when we compare you with other viable candidates, we say who has the best plan to effect what we want. You know, number one. To your issue, emerging markets, we need to admit the statistics that there is a slight growth in emerging markets is because of, if I'm not wrong, is because of countries like China and India, which are central to our export profile, right? Which then means that firstly we need to broaden what we are exporting to these countries, particularly because they represent a very significant portion of the world, of the global population, right? But it also shows a shift in how economy is going, such that continentally, the African continent is experiencing much more growth than other sectors that were given, particularly in the budget strategy paper and the budget speech. There's slight growth in the US. There's slight growth there and there, but it's not promising, especially for a country where we are. So in that way, we need to then re-strategize to say, what are we selling where, right? We need to be very careful and not careful, but strategic and tactful. But the very important thing that I want to emphasize is that we need to exploit the AfCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, to then see what we are exporting into the continent, but also what we are bringing into the continent in terms of investment and even human capital. Trading as a continent, but presenting the continent and its constituent states as viable parties in the global arena. So how we deal with the emerging markets and developing countries and emerging markets, I think, and then the global economy and those sectoral stratifications, we need to be very careful about that, particularly in SADC and SACU. The growth is descending very scarily, so which means that we need to look beyond SACU and SADC while working with SACU and SADC. Yes.
It actually shows that, if you have less exports, it actually shows that you don't have a plan for the world.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't have a plan for the world.
And we have a trade deficit.
Yeah.
So we need to cover that.
Big countries that are making it are countries with a plan for the world. Look at the US, look at China.
La go hita wena la go hita le akwa ha ke go bua go kae la go hita gape le tla jana wa go le reka mo CBD. That shows
a problem. It shows a very big problem.
I would have wanted us to talk about the issue of immigration and how it is affecting as a result of the issue of unemployment, but we don't have time for that.
Yes.
But in all what you've said, I'm then drawing a conclusion that then our art of politics is we're just engaged in a multi-party democratic conflict of who must rule over who and who must govern over who, because the leader of that party is more charismatic than that one, and all those type of things.
A critique of our politics for me would be that we've developed a multi-party, not even conflict.
Conflict.
Wow. But we've created a theatrical arena, where everybody then says, "Nya naki ke wa party ye ke dumela se, nya nna ke wa party ye ke."
Maybe there is nothing that they're holding on to.
Or sometimes they're holding on to the same thing.
Yes, like I don't think if right now I bring like a youth member who is active in politics and then I ask them, why are you following that particular individual? Unless you're going to tell me it's the manifesto. But even that manifesto is...
Our politics, but our politics hasn't gone to a stage where it should be. Politics should be the affairs of the state. So we need to sit down around the table and discuss, okay, this is the economy, how do we build it? And then ask party colors later. They shouldn't matter. Why should I come to a table should it matter? So that's where my then thinking is, in response to a neo-colonial setup, we need to then empower the African to think like an African, to remember who they are as an African, and solve African issues with African
methods.
African issues with African solutions through African methods. And that's what Pan-Africanism is. Doing fundamentally that. So for me, that should be the renewal of politics. To then ask, who is a Motswana? What is a Motswana? Why is a Motswana? Yes. Once we answer those questions, then we can build our politics better.
I hope that we get to that stage where our politics evolves to that stage. Because I think it can there's what we call political consciousness.
Yes, sir.
Right? So we can be politically conscientized in that element.
You don't sound hopeful, but yeah.
But you say that we should have hope,
Have
right?
hope.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think I'll be the first individual to activate my hope
Yes.
when it comes to that
Yes.
specific.
Please do.
Yeah, because it's not an easy thing, and I
Yes.
don't. Looking at where we are, I think
Yes.
it's going to take a long time for us
No, it will.
to come out of it.
will.
So hope of a mustard seed
Mm.
is all I need.
Oh yes.
Yeah. No, I hope we'll make it, man. I hope we'll
No,
make
we
it. There's this whole human capital development thing, which I think the government
Yes.
is now going in,
Yes.
and I hope it comes as a mandate by government to say we are even now ready to start hunting talent
Yes.
and respecting it and building it.
Yes.
We don't value mentorship in Botswana.
No.
We don't value coaching, and I think if we can invest in those things,
We
we can do something for
No,
ourselves.
true.
Yeah.
True. I think we should also invest in ourselves.
Mhm.
You know, short courses,
upskill.
volunteering, upskilling. You know,
Because I
finding
think
experience
Ronaldo
somewhere.
Ronahela as youth, we normally just stop at one point.
Yeah.
After your degree, that's the end.
Yeah.
But there is more that we can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the more we pour into ourselves, the more someone can
Yeah,
at
true.
least see that, okay, this person is trying.
But let me also acknowledge and thank you too for being here. You know, this on its own is a declaration that you are ready to build the country.
Yeah.
And so for that, I must acknowledge and thank you. And I hope that you continue in the work, not just here, but beyond here.
Yes, sir.
You are welcome.
So that other young people can also do the same and better. I live by one fundamental thing, that other young people can be much better than myself.
Yeah.
True.
Yes. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's the mandate of leadership, sir.
that's it.
Yeah, that's the mandate
You
of
are a
leadership.
very good leader, my leader.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, I think there's so much that we can talk about, and there's a whole lot of time that we are going to create and that we are going to make that
Yeah.
they should be able to make as well.
Yeah.
Because these are issues that don't just affect us alone, but affect them.
Yeah.
Youth Nkolapeng. So you guys know what to do when it comes to listening, and not just listening and then you throw in, or you're listening just for the sake of increasing our views, but you take what we've said and learn, empower, and even be able to pour into somebody else's cup and like, okay, fine, this is what I learned. What's your take home from today?
Yeah.
What are you going to do as youth? I
Yeah.
mean, this was an introductory episode, but there's so much that you can pick or, oh, okay, no, but this is what I can do. Introspect where you are,
Yeah.
you know, and
I think that's the principle. I mean, before we start talking about what government is doing, what is not doing, what is important is we as youth make sure that we maximize in our own spaces. So that as we start complaining and talking about how government is failing us, we know that in our own abilities, we have tried to maximize.
Yes.
And we fail to reach that potential because of certain things that then come about from the government failing it ourselves. So
we
we'll get
probably
there.
forgot to mention that tomorrow, today, the future is speaking comes from how we've realized that we normally hear that youth is the future, but we've got to realize that we are the active stakeholders of today.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right. So, the viewers at home, Kilona Bao, you are an active stakeholder for today. Do something in your own space and make sure you're well informed. Right. We are here to help you, and our opinions are just opinions, and it is okay. You agree, you disagree, that's still fine. The comment section is there for you to have such conversations with us. We'll definitely be there to engage with you. Gakeesi Tlhabiwe.
Not shy.
Come on.
Not shy, but please like, share, subscribe, comment.
Yeah.
We need that engagement.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
No, thank you
Mr.
very much.
G,
Thank
for
you very
coming.
much. I am honored.
Yes, sir.
I can't like you guys 1 hour.
Imagine.
language.
And this
Yeah.
is about to be my life for
What
the
a
next
language.
coming weeks.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So thank you guys so much for watching. Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and most definitely share. We need youth to participate. We need youth to engage with us. This is not just about us coming here and speaking English, you know. It is about you guys, you know. So at the end of the day, we do appreciate you guys. And if it is your first time here, you know what to do. Without wasting your time, goodbye and thank you.
Thank you.